start off by telling you a little bit about my family. So I grew up in a house with no gender barriers. My dad was my primary caregiver, so when I was born, he stayed home with me, and my mom went back to work. My dad also makes supper every night because my mom can't cook. Sorry, Mom. Science is a huge part of my everyday life. So when I was younger, and even now, my dad and I make a whole bunch of fun things, like a magic pickle machine. So we had electrodes, you plug them into a pickle, and the light bulb comes on, and I thought that was the coolest thing. We also make rockets and launch them off in the backyard. I didn't realize that girls and boys had different roles in society until I went to school. So my story starts in the fall of 2015. So this is my family. We have my mom, Andrea, my dad, Lenny, my little brother, Will, and that's our dog, Zappa. My mom's family has lived in our home in Upper LaHave for about 160 years. That's a pretty long time. About 7 years ago, my great-grandfather installed a septic system. In 2015, our septic system collapsed because it got old and we had a bigger family, so it was being used more. So we had the gentleman come in to assess our situation, tell us we needed to get a new septic system, and he told my mom we had 3 months to fix it. And she said, well, excuse me, we have 3 months to fix our septic system, but our neighbors are flushing their sewage directly into our river illegally. And he said, don't worry, no one checks. So that night at the dinner table, my mom was on a bit of a rampage. She was angry. She was saying, I can't believe no one checks, and that's gross. So I'm going to come back to my first science fair project in a bit, but this is my second science fair project. So at the dinner table, we were talking about septic systems, and I was 11 at the time, and I looked at my mom and said, well, Mom, what's a straight pipe? And that's when my entire life changed. She explained to me that it is a pipe from a home's toilet directly into a waterway with no filtration. So if you flush toilet paper, that is going into our beautiful waterways. I was really, really upset and actually started asking a lot of questions. You can see a picture of a straight pipe along the LaHave in the presentation. So some of my questions were, what do you mean people flush their septics into the river? Is that legal? How many houses do this? Is it safe to swim in the river, and do people know this is happening? I had so many more questions, but these were the main few that I kept repeating. As I kept repeating all my questions, I kind of annoyed my parents into finding answers and helping me figure out if I could swim in the river, because I really wanted to. So my parents got in contact with a local organization called Coastal Action Foundation, and they led me to Dr. David Maxwell, who became my science mentor and taught me how to test the LaHave River for fecal bacteria in my kitchen. So we didn't need a fancy laboratory. We did it right in our home. And we're actually the only house on the street that grows fecal bacteria in our basement. My mom told me I should stop telling people that. My overall question was, is it safe to swim in the LaHave River? Because as an 11-year-old self, that's all I wanted to do. I chose 4 locations to test during the summer of 2015 where I saw people swimming, including my little brother, Will, and I tested the water monthly. So this is a picture of the LaHave River. So we have our town Bridgewater at the top. We have Dayspring, which is a boat launch, Upper LaHave, which the dot is right on my house, and the Yacht Club. These are the 4 locations where I saw people in the water. So limits based on Health Canada standards. So if there are more than 70 blue dots enterococci per 100 milliliters, you should not swim in the water. And if there are more than 170 blue dots per enterococci 100 milliliters, you should not get the water in contact with your skin. All right, so 70, don't swim, 170, don't let the water get in contact with your skin. I'm going to show you some pictures of my results, and I'm going to get you to actually guess how many dots you see on the cards. So anybody have a wild guess about how many dots are on this card? Just shout it out. All right, so this one is 67. At 70, you should not swim. But these are surface water testing. So if you're going to go in the water like anyone, a kid, you're going to run in the water, you're going to stir up the bottom, and your results are going to get higher. So this is in front of my home. Anybody have a guess of how many dots are on this card? This is 273. also surface water testing. So if you go in and you stir up the bottom, it's going to get worse. And at 70, you should not swim. The next one is going to be multiplied by 5 because we use 20 milliliters of water instead of 100 to make it easier to count. So you're going to guess how many dots are here and multiply that by 5. Take a wild guess. This is 610. At 70, you should not swim. And the next one is our town, Bridgewater. And you're also going to multiply this number by 5. I hope you're ready. This is the state of our town. Isn't that disgusting? It's thousands. We didn't count this. It's pretty much a visual representation that you should not swim there or get it in contact with your skin. And whenever I do testing, we always do a control. So this is a run-through of my equipment to make sure that everything was sterilized properly. So if there are any blue dots, so colonies of fecal bacteria, then we're going to have to redo the whole process. So here's a chart of 4 months of testing. You can see the vertical line, or horizontal line, sorry, 70 where you should not swim, and 170 where you shouldn't get the water in contact with your skin. And it's pretty alarming. So my findings, is it safe to swim in the LaHave River? No, please, please do not. Based on Health Canada standards, the LaHave River is not safe for swimming, and some testing suggests you shouldn't get the water in contact with your skin. I wanted to warn people that the river's not safe for swimming. So I told my mom I wanted a Facebook page, but she looked at me and said, no, you're 11, that's not happening. So I said, well, why not? She said, no, that's not happening. So we compromised, and we put up a big sign right in front of our home on our busy street, and it said, this river's contaminated with fecal bacteria. After we had media at the door and neighbors at the door asking what the sign meant, Mom agreed that we could have a Facebook page and run it together. I wanted Facebook because that tends to be where the older population is, and those are the voters. Thank you. My project became so much more than a poster board. Social media made a huge difference. This project would have just been a poster board 10 years ago. I stayed positive in my posts. My mom would help me draft what I was going to write because I had quite a large following, and she'd have everything so negative, and I'd just tear it apart and say, no, Mom, I'm not posting that. We have to be more positive. I stuck to scientific facts. I went to Acadia University in the lab, and I did gram staining. I've done duplicate testing, parallel testing with an accredited lab, all of this to back up my science. You can't really argue that straight pipes are a good thing. They're 100% illegal and 100% really gross. So to make a long story short, the community came together along the LaHave River. All 3 levels of government came together, and now there's a $15.7 million cleanup plan to rid the LaHave River of straight pipes. Thank you. Many people wanted to clean up the river for years, but it just wasn't getting the attention it needed. As an 11-year-old little girl, I made this all come together. Since my project began, a lot has happened. I've won many awards. These are 3 top ones. I have the Weston Youth Innovation Award from the Ontario Science Centre. I have the Meritorious Service Medal from the Governor-General Canada, Julie Payette. She was an astronaut. She's been in outer space. I can also sign my name, Stella Bowles, MSM, which I like using on papers at school. And I have the Community Hero Award from the Canada Walk of Fame. Thank you. I've had the opportunity to travel. I've been many places, including all over Canada, Sweden. I went to Ecuador for 10 days when I was 14. My parents sent me alone in the jungle. I had no Wi-Fi and no parents. It was great. And I went to a 2-week summer camp in New York the past summer. That was a lot of fun. I was the only Canadian out of 50 youth around the world, so they called me Canada. And I'm even going to San Francisco next week. I've met so many inspiring women. My MP Bernadette Jordan, who is now our Federal Minister of Fisheries, Oceans, and the Coast Guard. Elizabeth May, He was the leader of the Green Party, and so many more women that have showed me how to be confident and helped me along the way. I do so many presentations. I love sharing my story. It's one of my favorite things to do. I actually even got to speak directly to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. I train youth to test their own waterways, which is a lot of fun. I really love showing other kids that science is so much more than the four walls of a classroom, and that it's more fun than just a textbook. It can be hands-on and meaningful. My science fair project, I got to go to Canada-wide Science Fair in Saskatchewan, and I won a silver medal. That's where my project was called, "Oh Poop, It's Worse Than I Thought." So my very first science fair project, it was a grade 5. It was on bubbles. So my dad and I, we built a bubble machine. You pull up the stick, you get a sheet of bubble. If you wet your hand, then you can shake other people's hands through the bubble. It was pretty cool, and I was really excited to show it. But I wasn't allowed to show it because the bubble solution would ruin the gym floors. It almost made me not want to do science anymore. I heard that girls should be teachers. I heard that girls should be nurses. I heard that girls should not like hands-on science. I heard so many misconceptions. Thankfully, the adults in my life reassured me these ideas were ridiculous. My river project wouldn't have happened if I listened to all these stereotypes. My parents didn't allow me to buy into these ridiculous ideas. Always encourage girls to be curious. Find mentors to help do hands-on science. All of our communities have mentors we can use. Facts are easy to find now, and kids need critical thinking skills for inquiry-based learning like science fair. I'm so thankful my parents encouraged me to be curious and continue science. We need to encourage kids to question and do science. Overall, the River Project is not my win. It's the LaHave River's win. We all benefit from a healthy, clean river. I want everyone to know that we individually have the power to create change. I'm going to leave you with one final statement. Can you imagine if every young girl was encouraged to take on a single cause like I did? I'm proof that one little girl can create change. Thank you.